Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving straight into a high-stakes, ancient real estate dispute that literally almost tore a nation apart. I mean, if you think modern property negotiations are stressful, just wait until you see what happens when the fate of an entire civilization hangs in the balance over a piece of prime pasture land. Let's get right into it. Here is our roadmap for today. We'll start with a prime piece of land, move into why Moses fears repeating history, unpack the ultimate compromise, and finish up with sealing the Gilead covenant. So keep this question in the back of your mind as we go through this explainer. How do you negotiate when the other side thinks you're absolutely ruining everything? Because what starts out as a simple, highly practical, and honestly kind of selfish-seeming request is about to trigger massive historical trauma for leadership. It's a classic conflict of interest, and the way they actually solve it is absolutely fascinating. Section 1. A prime piece of land. The request that started it all. We kick things off with the tribes of Reuben and Gad. The source text tells us they had a very great multitude of cattle. They're looking around at the territory they've just conquered, places like Ataroth, Dibon, and Jazer, and they realize this region is incredibly fertile. For people whose entire wealth and livelihood were tied to their livestock, this land, right here before they even crossed the Jordan River, was simply too good to pass up. You can feel the immediate tension here, right? It's a major clash between individual tribal desires and the collective mission of the Israelites. On one side, Reuben and Gad want to settle down right now, secure their massive herds, and start building their lives in Jazer and Gilead. But on the other side, you have the collective goal of the entire congregation, staying united, crossing the Jordan River, and fighting as one to claim the Promised Land. These two goals are on a direct collision course. And here is the match that lights the powder keg. They take this really bold request directly to Moses, to Eleazar the priest, and to the princes of the congregation. They're essentially asking to cash out their inheritance early. Bring us not over Jordan, they say. It's an incredibly audacious request. Think about it. They are asking to stay behind in comfort, while the rest of the nation goes off to face grueling warfare. Which brings us to Section 2. Moses fears repeating history, the trauma of Kadesh Barnea. Now, Moses doesn't just politely decline this request. He absolutely explodes. He views this as a treasonous betrayal, and he hits them with this piercing question, "Shall your brethren go to war, and shall ye sit here?" He is furious. He accuses them of destroying the morale of the entire military force right on the brink of crossing into the Promised Land that the Lord had given them. Moses' reaction isn't just about the present moment, though. It is completely anchored in the trauma of 40 years ago. See, 40 years prior, their fathers were sent from Kadesh Barnea to spy out the land. They went up to the valley of Eshcol, saw the land, and then came back and completely discouraged the heart of Israel from going in. And what happened next? The Lord's anger was kindled. He swore that no one over 20 would see the land except for Caleb and Joshua. That singular event resulted in 40 agonizing years of wandering in the wilderness until that entire generation was consumed. So now Moses looks at Reuben and Gad and explicitly accuses them of rising up in their father's stead as an increase of sinful men. He is terrified they're about to trigger that exact same fierce anger all over again. The crucial point here is the absolute gravity of the stakes. Moses tells them point blank, "For if you turn away from after him, he will yet again leave them in the wilderness, and ye shall destroy all this people." Moses firmly believes that if these two tribes abandon the military effort right now, it will quite literally result in the total annihilation of the nation in the wilderness. It's a life-or-death ultimatum. Section 3. The ultimate compromise, a masterclass in diplomacy. So faced with Moses' fury and the accusation that they are dooming the nation, Reuben and Gad do something truly remarkable. Instead of rebelling or backing down, they execute a brilliant pivot. They step up and present a 4-step counteroffer. Step 1, they'll build sheepfolds and fence cities locally in Gilead to keep their families safe. Step 2, the men will go ready-armed as the absolute front lines for Israel. Step 3, they pledge not to return until every single Israelite has inherited their land. And Step 4, only then will they return to claim their inheritance eastward. This is a brilliant win-win negotiation. I mean, this single counter-proposal changes everything. It transforms Reuben and Gad from a massive liability into a strategic military advantage for the entire congregation. The tribes get to secure their ideal cattle land, and Moses gets a highly motivated, elite frontline infantry that is fully committed to conquering Canaan so they can eventually go home.
Moses accepts the terms, but he lays down a heavy, incredibly famous warning. But if he will not do so, behold, ye have sinned against the Lord, and be sure your sin will find you out. He's cementing the absolute severity of the covenant they just made. The message is clear. You can have a land and you can build your cities, but if you break your promise to fight, the consequences will be inescapable.
Section 4. Sealing the Gilead Covenant. Who got what? With the terms agreed upon verbally, Moses knows he won't be crossing the Jordan with them, so he sets up a strict legal framework. He binds Eleazar the priest, Joshua, and the chief fathers to enforce two main conditions. Condition 1. If Reuben and Gad pass over armed to battle, you give them Gilead. Condition 2. If they refuse to pass over armed, their deal is totally voided, and they'll be forced to take possessions among the rest of the tribes in Canaan. No early inheritance. Reuben and Gad formally agree, declaring, "As the Lord hath said unto our servants, so will we do." The sheer logistical scale of this settlement was massive. We aren't just talking about pitching a few tents here. Moses officially gives the kingdom of Sihon and the kingdom of Og to Gad, Reuben, and half the tribe of Manasseh. Gad goes to work building heavily fenced cities like Dibon and Ataroth, along with folds for their sheep. Reuben builds up cities like Heshbon and Elealeh, even changing the names of places like Nebo and Baal-Meon. And we also see the children of Machir, from the half-tribe of Manasseh, going into Gilead, dispossessing the Amorites, while Jair and Nobah take smaller towns and villages, renaming them after themselves. They were completely rebuilding and restructuring the region to protect their families while the men prepared for a massive all-out war. Which brings us right back to the number 40. By stepping up and bearing the military burden at the very front lines, Reuben and Gad prevented another 40 years of tragedy. They stopped history from repeating itself. They honored the collective need of the nation, and in doing so, they successfully and rightfully secured their own future in the lands they desired. It leaves us with this final, provocative thought. We all find ourselves in situations where our personal goals clash with the goals of our team, our family, or our community. The next time you face a conflict of interest that feels explosive, consider the compromise of Reuben and Gad. How can you structure a deal where you offer to help others cross their rivers and fight their battles so that you earn the right to build your own cities? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I hope this ancient masterclass in negotiation gives you a brand new perspective on finding the ultimate win-win.